Hey everybody, it's Matthew Lee with the Tao of Kung Fu, coming to you from San Francisco. I'm in the yoga room of the beautiful Yoga Society of San Francisco. This is my training space. I love this place, it's amazing. So today I wanted to go over the fundamentals of some body mechanics to start with some good power generation techniques for just some basic strikes. We got to start with just the basics. Fundamentals make the difference between a really skilled athlete and just an amateur. So you got to make sure you're doing all the fundamentals like with OCD type of passion and ferocity. So we already covered the basics of a good stance and where you want the hands and everything like that. So now we got to start talking about strikes. And so the first strike I wanted to talk about is just the lead, what I call the lead or the jab, which is just the straight punch from the front hand. So a lot of times it's referred to as the jab or the one punch, and usually I'll call it the lead. But it can be confusing because a lot of times if you're talking combinations, you can do a lead right as well. So you don't want to get confused with that. So for now, I'll call it a jab. So the boxing mechanics, if your weight is a little bit forward and you're hunkered down into your stance, nice and springy in the legs, the back is fairly straight. The biggest thing people do with this is they overcommit with it. And they shoot way forward with it, which it maybe lends a little bit of power to it, but you can be way overcommitted, and if it's blocked or if you're grabbed, your balance is all off kilter and you're going to be really susceptible to being struck or being taken down. So it gives you too much vulnerability. So keep the weight right where it is, and what you want to do is do a stance change where you're twisting with the hips. But everything should be just like a wheel around your spine. If your spine was the axle, your spine is the axis. So everything is rotating around the spine, which from here gives you that much extra reach. So if you are squared up and you are reaching out as far as you can, when you twist, you end up with that much extra reach. So I tell my students to rotate the hips and the shoulders at the same time, like you're trying to reach back with this shoulder here. So that shoulder is reaching back as this one is reaching out. Then it's really important at the end, you don't want to lock out the arm. You want to save that elbow and save the shoulder. If a really skilled practitioner meets up with you and you throw a punch, you totally block out your arm, they're going to sidestep and slap at the elbow. And it's going to bend your arm the opposite direction. Your arm is really susceptible to damage when it's fully straight. It just needs a tiny little bend in it, tiniest bend. So you want to rotate, move from the hip. You can come up on the ball of the foot just a little bit. Is a really good exercise to make sure you're doing the correct body mechanics at first. So come up on the ball of the foot as you raise the heel, rotate, reach with that back shoulder. That's like, I always say, like if you are throwing a rope around this pole and you pull with this arm, if the rope is grabbed by both hands, as you pull with this one, it's going to bring this one forward. So that's the idea, is the more you pull with this one, it brings this one forward. And that's going to be some of your power generation, as it gives you rotational power generation, rotating around the spine. The hips are also twisting and giving it more rotational power. So that's one of the big things with that jab, is giving it rotational power, which will give you a little reach and it'll give you that power. Now you're also lending the spring from the legs. So you're getting that leg springiness that's generating power. So it's coming up and shooting that way. So it's hitting him like that. then there's two basic types of ways to strike. One is to just hit completely through and have a lot of follow through. That would be like a baseball bat, striking the baseball and knocking the ball way out of the park. The baseball bat continues to swing all the way through. It's got a lot of follow through. The other way is a snap, which is like a whip. And that's more how I always teach my students to punch, because if you're a smaller individual especially, you can really hurt yourself trying to hit through a person and follow all the way through. But it's easy to snap and hit like a whip. And it adds a lot of force to your strikes. So, from here, if you do your jab and you hit, you then want to focus on starting with the movement from the leg to pull back. So you drop the heel on the floor really quickly, which drops the hip, which is going to in turn pull the shoulder back, which allows the arm to spring back. So another reason why we don't want to completely lock the arm out is because we're going to be pulling it back really fast. So as it goes out, we're going to focus on pulling it back even faster. So it's going out and pulling back really fast. And it's important to come back to our point of origin, where it's up here by the cheeks, or it's out here, ready for our guard. So we're going to be doing either punching combinations, or we're going to be coming back into guard and then doing deflections and blocks. So we're going to rotate and punch, and then pull back real fast. Rotate and punch, pull back. So that slow motion pullback is really important. Dropping the heel, pushing the hips back, pushing this hip forward, bringing the shoulders back to our guard position, and our hands still up high. So striking out and then pulling back. So out. Make sure you're exhaling as you punch. And this is one of the best ways to train, is to do no power and really focus on your technique. All right, and what you're looking for with this is that snapping type of motion, like your arm is a whip. You have to be loose and relaxed to be able to hit this way. And it gives that snapping jab, which even from the left hand will have a lot of power and snap their head back or hit them solidly in the solar plexus. And it's a good setup punch for the next one, which is going to be really powerful, or a kick or anything like that. So I want you to practice rotational movement, going everything around the spine. If you've got a mirror, that's really perfect. You want to make sure you're not rotating the weight back and forth. That's not correct. Even as you're punching, you don't want to be back and forward that way. You want to have everything in one place and use the springiness of the legs and the rotation around the spine to create power. So, work on those fundamentals. Make sure you're not locking out your elbow, and most importantly, stay really relaxed and breathe. Don't forget to breathe. So work on those, and then I'll be back with some more punching and kicking fundamentals.